Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my Saturn in the 12th house transit experience. Super crazy transit. And I just wanted to share this with you guys because I felt like this was a very significant transit and it's finally over. It's been over, but I was waiting until like the transit was completely over in order to give you like a really thorough assessment on what I experienced. So I wanted to share this with you guys because if you guys are like me, sometimes like before like certain transits happen, I'm always like, okay, like what is this transit gonna be like? And sometimes there's not a lot of information on certain transits. So with the Saturn in the 12th house transit, there's not a lot of information or descriptions about it, so I kind of wanted to add to the descriptions, the very few descriptions there are. So let's get into it. Saturn in the 12th house transit. So briefly, I'm just going to talk about like what Saturn is and what the 12th house represents. So Saturn represents like your karma, your restrictions, your limitations. A lot of them are self-imposed, but they can be like from external circumstances as well. Saturn is a planet that brings awareness, and it forces you to make corrections on things that are no longer conducive to your path. And the 12th house is a house of your dreams and your subconscious, your past life. You know, it's a house where you could feel very secluded and isolated. The 12th house is also a house that also shows your fears as well, like hidden fears, your inner demons that are hidden from you, things of that nature. So with this transit, oh my gosh, you guys, like it was really crazy how it happened. And it actually happened like perfect timing. There was a lot of synchronicity as for like when this transit took place and kind of everything that was like happening around me. So I think the transit for me, I think it started back in like 2019 or so. And to be honest, I didn't notice what this transit was gonna bring, and I didn't really notice I didn't notice what this transit like was doing until like closer to the end of it. And outer planets, they tend to have that effect where you don't really notice it initially until like after the fact, you know, until like you look back in hindsight like, okay, like I see like what this transit did. So that's what happened for me. So with this transit, it happened around the time when the whole pandemic happened. So, you know, with Saturn, like, you know, being a time where you kind of just cut back on things, and even with the 12th house, it's a time where you spend a lot of time in solitude and seclusion. Like, that's what happened to me. You know, it's like 2020, I thought like that was going to be the year, like just so much was going to happen, and then boom, the pandemic thing happened. And it's like anything that I tried to do, it just wouldn't work. Like I was trying to move and, you know, start new things, and Saturn in the 12th house transit was like, nah, B, like that's not happening. Like it's not a time to start new things. It's actually a time of endings. And it's a time where you really cut back on things and you spend a lot of time in seclusion, like reflecting and really like facing your inner demons. Basically your inner demons, you face a lot of like your past through deep meditation. Like Saturn in the 12th house transit, it's like a time where you do intense introspection, intense shadow work, and depending on the degree of your karma and kind of how you've been living your life, like, you know, that'll depend on like how bad this transit is for you, as far as like how you will feel, you know. This transit is a time where you just reflect on a lot of your past actions, a lot of your past decisions, kind of like what you plan to do in the future, this is also a time of preparation, getting prepared for when Saturn gets out of your 12th house, what your trajectory is going to be going forward. So, it's definitely a time where you could feel very depressed, because Saturn is depression, and the 12th house can bring depression as well. Especially with Saturn there, it really like amps it up like 10 notches. Because it's like, for me, like, I felt very depressed. Like, I was just very unhappy with the pandemic thing. It was a time where, I know a lot of us felt like very dissatisfied and unhappy, because that year was a year with like hella retrogrades. So it was just like a very deep introspective time. But definitely for me, I felt very unhappy. There's so much that I wanted to do, and then it's just like nothing was working. And then, it was a time where it was like I was like forced to, leave the city, and temporarily, I moved in with my mom, and she lived in like a small town, and I was just very depressed because naturally my energy is for the city. Like, I have to be around a lot of stimulation, a lot going on. I need to be in a place where there's a lot of space to like stretch out and like meet a lot of new people. Where my mom was living, like, she lived in a place where it's just very small, very quiet, very slow, so that really added to my depression, to where it's like I didn't really go anywhere. I just stayed in the house all the time, and I was just very sad. And Saturn like really put that pressure on me on like, what is it that you want? When this transit is over, like, what is it that you plan to do? What are your goals? I also had to face a lot of the things that I didn't get to do, where I failed to do certain things or accomplish certain things that I wanted. I also had to be faced with that time, because something with Saturn energy is like, it will bring awareness to a lot of your mistakes and your failures, and that shit will get to you. But it's like, it's forcing you to correct these things, and it's forcing you to kind of reconcile with, okay, you failed to do this, you really did, like, you really took an L, but now that you're aware of it, now you know what to do next time. You know what I'm saying? Now you know what not to do next time. And that's kind of like the energy Saturn brings. It kind of just makes you face the fact of, okay, like, oh well, like, you didn't get to do this, or you didn't accomplish this, you failed at that. But now that you're very much so aware of these things, now it's time to like correct yourself. So going forward, you don't make those same mistakes anymore. So that's basically what I experienced, and I really started to feel it like during 2021, and I would say like towards like the later parts of 2021, when it's like Saturn was about to leave my 12th house. So I just started to feel like I was in spiritual jail. Like, and essentially that's what Pisces is. Pisces rules like prisons and jails and places where you're just in confinement. But for me, it was like more so in like a spiritual sense. Like, I just felt like I was in a spiritual jail. And Saturn does rule jails too, like where you're like confined and restricted too. So I'm like, god damn, like, yo. And then it's like so much was like happening like at my mom's house. Like, there was like a lot of childhood things that I had to address as well. So it was like no surprise that I went back to my mom's house and I was like around all my siblings and things like that. There was just like a whole bunch of shit happening. Like, oh my god. But Saturn was like, you need to deal with these things. You need to address these things, because these traumas and these issues are affecting my future and kind of like the path that I'm going on. And it's kind of like blocking me from fully like stepping into the path that I'm like on right now, because it's like you're still holding on to certain things from your past, certain values, certain traumas, certain whatever. And like Saturn really forced me to address these things, to let go of these things. So now that Saturn isn't in my 12th house anymore, and it won't be in my 12th house ever again for a very long time. Now it's like I'm able to face my future and face my path head on, cleared away of all these toxic things that have been like harboring below the surface in my subconscious that I wasn't aware of. So Saturn will definitely dig that up. Saturn will definitely have you dive deeply into your subconscious to kind of really address like what's going on subconsciously that's causing you to feel blocked or restricted or unable to really accomplish certain things that you're set out to do in this lifetime. You know, whatever you signed up for in this lifetime, like you have to also address like the things that are blocking you from really like blossoming into that. So with Saturn in the 12th house, like, yeah, I was starting to feel like I was in spiritual jail, yo. Like, I was like, yo, when is this gonna end? Because this sucks. Like, I felt very depressed. I was very unhappy, you guys. Like, I would cry all the time. Like, yo, like, it was tough. It was really heavy time. But it had me do a lot of intense shadow work that I had to catch up on. Also, with Saturn in the 12th house transit, like, this, it could also put you in a situation where you're not working. I mean, at least for me, that's how it played out for me. It doesn't always have to play out that way, but it's like Saturn because Saturn has to do with work. So it's like Saturn in the 12th house is more so you're focused on like spiritual work, you know, the shadow work, the meditation, that kind of work, to where it really had me take a step back from the workplace to where it's like I wasn't working for a minute, y'all. Like, I'm not even gonna cap to you, like I really wasn't during that time, because it's like a distraction. If I'm like going to work every day, like that's a distraction from me focusing on really taking care of my inner self. You know what I'm saying? So Saturn in the 12th house took that shit away from me too. No job, no, you're not gonna live in the city. Like, no, like you can't be around distractions. Like, you have to be in full seclusion. That's what happened, y'all. And honestly, I look back, it was a very distressing, very jarring kind of time, but like it really helped me heal a lot and really helped me really put to rest a lot of things that I would otherwise have done if I was just like engaging in all my distractions and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tried to move like twice during my Saturn in the 12th house transit, and it just didn't work, yo. Like, it just didn't work. Like, I just found myself back at my mom's house, like in that little small town, and it's like, yo, I can't be here. Like, I was trying to escape the transit. It's like, sis, you can't escape the transit. Like, you have to deal with this. Like, Saturn is like, nah, like, you gotta deal with your shit. Like, where the fuck are you going? You're not gonna escape this. So that's basically the whole transit. It's like, it's a time where you do your shadow work, you get a lot of meditation, you do a lot of self-care on yourself. You're very much so focused on yourself and kind of just getting prepared for that Saturn, or getting prepared for when Saturn goes into your first house. Because when Saturn goes into your first house, that's when you're focused on your path, and now you're out in the world. Now it's time to get back out in the world and do your work, do what you got to do, be about your business. You know what I'm saying? So there's gonna be no more of that I'm in hiding kind of energy when you go to the first house with Saturn. And I'll do a video on that when the transit is over, because right now Saturn is in my first house transiting, and it's gonna be in there for a while. But yeah, that's basically what I have for this video. Definitely Saturn transiting your 12th house. It's a time where you're focused on your rest, your relaxation, shadow work, meditation, really dealing with your inner demons. Saturn will put the pressure on you to change a lot of things. So when Saturn finally goes into your first house, a lot of these old toxic things that have been like harboring in your subconscious, they can't block you anymore, and they can't prevent you from doing what you need to be doing, you know, when Saturn goes into that first house transit. So that is all I have for this video. I don't want this video to be super long, but I just wanted to share that with you guys, just in case you guys wanted to know what this transit is like, especially for my Aries risings people. When Saturn goes into Pisces, Saturn will be in your 12th house, and I just want to really share this with the Aries rising people, because I already know Aries rising people, y'all love to be here, there, and everywhere. You guys are very action oriented, so just a heads up, prepare. Like Saturn in the 12th house will have you sit your ass down somewhere. I will say that. And it will be a very tough time for Aries risings people. It was even a tough time for me, and I'm an Aquarius rising. And you know, Aquarius risings, we love to socialize. We like to be here, there, and everywhere. It's not going to be like that. So just really prepare for that. For my people who have Aries rising, it's not going to be a time where you guys are going to be very motivated or ambitious or very action oriented. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope this gives you guys a little insight on this transit. And for my Aries risings, when Saturn does go in your 12th house, good luck, and just be easy on yourself. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you guys like this video, please click the thumbs up. Please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.